Hello and welcome, folks. Right this way. Have your tickets ready, line up in an orderly fashion, and climb aboard the Comics Carousel. We begin with Johnny Law, Sky Ranger. So, what does a Sky Ranger handle? The usual suspects. Spy planes, saboteurs, beds, pretty much anything you'd expect to find floating around up there. They say Chatham Prison is escape-proof, but it has yet to reckon with Steve Reppin. The other cons are doubtful at Reppin's talk of escape, but when an unmarked chopper appears over the prison exercise yard, it's clear this is no empty boast. In fact, it's a skybreak. The cops open fire, but the reckless criminal leaps for the dangling ladder. Clinging desperately, Reppin is swept over the wall and off into freedom. Reppin's escape is reported to the Sky Rangers. You'd expect with a name like that they'd be a big organization, but it appears it's just Johnny and Stubby here. Maybe there were cutbacks. They learned Reppin was in prison for bank robbery, making off with a cool $50,000. Only when the cops caught up to him in a rundown hotel, the money was nowhere to be found. Why the con broke jail with only 10 days left to serve is anyone's guess. The Rangers head to the site of the hotel, unaware that their quarry is already there. Reppin dons a stolen suit and blends into the crowd. With the old hotel scheduled for demolition, all of the vintage furniture is being auctioned, an event that draws many interested parties. The escape con gets into a bidding war with this old biddy over a 4-poster bed, in the end pulling a pistol when he loses. What a poor sport! To make matters worse, the Sky Rangers are here, and the jig is up. At least, it would be, only Reppin's not the quitting type. He forces 2 bystanders to bind the bedposts with rope at gunpoint. Just then, the copter swings in, causing the rubes to scatter and giving Reppin the chance to tie the bed to the lower tow line. He gives the signal, and the 4-poster is swept up into the afternoon sky. Only he's not alone. Seems Johnny's decided to join him on this little joyride. The Sky Ranger is held at gunpoint while Reppin gloats. He's come too far to be stopped now. Turning his back, he twists open one of the poster bed's columns, revealing the long-hidden loot from the bank job. Seeing his chance, Johnny dives at Reppin and the two struggle, the bed swaying madly to and fro. Just then, Stubby appears, but the stalwart sidekick is held at bay due to the barrage of machine gun fire. Stubby doesn't cotton to being shot at and takes the copter out by smashing the rotor with his own landing gear. A baller move, as the kids might say. The copter, the bed, and the combatants plunge into the icy river below, but land or sea, Johnny's got more than what it takes to put a bum like Reppin in his place, and the Sky Rangers get their man, their money, and a bill from the sour dowager. Isn't that always the way? Following on, and here's a new one to me, it's the Barker from December of 1949. According to mycomicshop.com, the Barker features whimsical circus tales with clowns and other trappings of the big top, including Carnie Callahan as the Barker. Published by Quality Comics, it ran for 15 issues, this being the 15th. And last, the Mammoth Circus pulls into Gay Bay for a 1-week engagement. After setting up camp on the waterfront, Colonel Lane laments not having any water-based attractions to tie in to the local scenery. Before Carnie the Barker can reply, the Colonel is seized and dragged under the water. Doffing his jacket, Carnie dives in, but whatever's taken the Colonel isn't letting go without a fight. The struggle attracts the attention of the other performers, who stop the show and race to the pier. The pair fished out in short order, but there's some question as to who was rescuing who. Even worse, both of their wallets have been stolen. Seems something's in the water, but what? Reaching below the surface with 2 of his arms, Sputto loses his dignity but catches the pickpocket. It's a frog, man, and he's got their wallets. An angered Carnie's set to pop him one, but the Colonel stops him. Can't he see this is the aquatic act they've been looking for? Froggo, however, balks at joining the circus. Why should he mix in with these freaks? He and Carnie bicker until the Barker threatens to get a stick of dynamite involved. Fearing for his life, Froggo reluctantly signs on at $200 a week. Well, it's nice work if you can get it. Lena and the others are justifiably suspicious of the new addition, but it's late, and there's a show to put on tomorrow. However, before the crew can get any rest, a shriek shatters the night, and is coming from Shali, the snake charmer's tent. The fellas rush to investigate, only to find a surly Froggo, who's looking to get acquainted with the sultry blonde. A protective Carnie squares up, but Froggo isn't the type to fight fair. Spuddo and Tiny rush in to help, but are unable to stop the loathsome leaper from escaping into the sea. Days pass. In spite of his antisocial tendencies, Froggo is a big hit with the spectators. They just can't get enough of the aquatic oddity, especially when he's giving Carnie the business. Before things can get violent, the Colonel rushes the angered Barker out of the main tent. Carnie's given a talking to before being sent to fetch a dry set of clothes. It seems in spite of the interpersonal conflict, the Colonel is pleased and heads off to count his money. With Carnie and Lane elsewhere, Froggo sees his chance. He spits a jet of water at a nearby fuse box, shorting it out and plunging the circus into darkness. Taking advantage of the confusion, Froggo sparks a full-on riot, driving the audience from their seats and towards the exits. In the chaos, he makes his way to the Colonel's tent, telling the old man the crowd is murdering his performers. Kinda grim for a comic about the circus, but it certainly got me interested. A concerned Colonel races out to help, leaving the day's take behind. Left alone in the wagon, Froggo sweeps up the greenbacks with one finny hand. Carnie, meanwhile, is caught up on what he missed by an enraged Spuddo. He races to the scene of the crime, but is unable to lay a finger on the slimy crook. Worse still, Froggo has Shali. With a croak, the errant amphibian bounds through the panicked circus-goers and vanishes back into the water. Carnie speculates Froggo must have a hideout down there and begins to piece together a plan. Meanwhile, Froggo brings Shali back to his underwater lair. Now that he has her hostage, Carnie wouldn't dare dynamite him. Above, the Barker writes his aquatic nemesis a note, challenging him to fight it out. Froggo accepts the challenge, not by breaking the surface, but by dragging Carnie down into the icy water. He knows the average human can't live for more than 4 minutes without air, so he keeps the helpless Carnie underwater for 10. Above, the other performers are in a panic, certain Carnie has succumbed. A desperate Spuddo dives after him, catching a glimpse of Froggo returning to his lair. He follows, finding the finny fiend gloating over the stolen cash. Froggo turns on the four-armed invader, but never gets the chance to scrap. Seems reports of Carnie's death were greatly exaggerated, and he's here to put the tale to rights. He socks Froggo in the gut, with surprising results. Turns out he's not a frogman at all, just a creep in a punctured rubber costume. After giving him the beating he deserves, Carnie and the others bring Froggo to the surface in justice. So what to do with the big old fish tank? Well, the Colonel has a few ideas that are sure to please. Let's just hope he washed it out first. Next up, it's Daring Adventures, featuring Atlas. Here's our pants-impaired hero now, getting the pitch from no less than the big guy himself. Our story begins with Jim Randall taken to task by boss, Mr. Huffnagel. He needs to stop staring at the new secretary and get to work, capiche? Only Linda here is so easy on the eyes, Jim can't help himself. He offers to walk her home, but when trouble arises in the form of Pug and his gang of ruffians beating up Linda's kid brother, Jim's about as helpful as a rubber crutch. Before things can get dire, Duke Cazzini intercedes, but he's not content with a simple thank you, and he gets handsy. Stepping forward to protect Linda's honor, Jim instead gets a scuff on the jaw, which curtails his knightly behavior too sweet. As the would-be hero limps off, Cazzini tells Pug to recruit the kid he was fighting into the gang. He's got ideas for him. Meanwhile, Linda destroys what's left of Jim's ego, leaving him to skulk home alone. Later that night, our protagonist laments his ineptitude, but upon drifting off, he receives an unexpected visitor. It's Atlas, and he's here with a message. You see, health and strength are a man's natural birthright. Even better, he provides Jim with a series of strange secret exercises and, presumably, some towels to clean up afterwards. Before he's asked if he likes gladiator movies, Jim wakes up. Filled with a new resolve, he heads to Uncle Hank's ranch in Arizona, where he throws himself into his new self-improvement program. Pretty soon, he's being noticed by the ranch hands, and those guys have notoriously high standards. The transformation is complete when Uncle Hank takes Jim's glasses. Now that he's beautiful, he no longer needs them. The newly buffed Jim turns up at Linda's to rub it in, but she isn't as easily impressed as the ranch hands. Besides, her stupid kid brother's now mixed up with a bad crowd, and Duke Cazzini's coming by tonight for a shakedown. Returning home, Jim receives another startling vision as Atlas confers his mighty world-bearing powers on our hero. And how about that costume? You're going to need a giant belt to hold up your fur shorts. That's Superheroics 101, man. Back at Linda's apartment, Duke springs a snapshot on the brassy bombshell. It's her kid brother Andy pulling a heist at gunpoint. Before she can order any 8x10s, Atlas appears, knocking the gun from Duke's hand before hitting him so hard his suit changes color. He tells the mobster to lay off Linda and Andy, but the kid prefers the company of criminals to muscle men. Atlas decides to take a more direct approach and heads to Cazzini's hideout, which is apparently a well-known secret in town. Pole vaulting into the air, Atlas scurries across a telephone line. He eavesdrops on Cazzini's call, learning Andy and the other kids are set to create a distraction so the gangster and his men can pull off a robbery on the other side of town. Hijacking a car, Atlas speeds through the city streets, but will he make it in time? The kids pry loose a hillside boulder, sending it plummeting into the path of the oncoming express train. Atlas leaps from the moving car, grabbing the large stone and hurling it aside in the nick of time. Alarmed, the kids run back to the truck, but don't get far. You know, there's nothing sissy about following the straight and narrow path. Oh yeah? What about that outfit then? Tough-talking leader Tommy isn't impressed. He explains how he and Andy were just a distraction and that Cazzoni and his men have more than what it takes to put this do-gooder down. He even takes him to the scene of the robbery, so confident is he in the mobster's infallibility. How obliging. They race to the scene of the action, a string of armored cars carrying a shipment of gold. But is it already too late? Atlas attempts to stop the convoy using the moving truck, but the armored car pushes it aside like it's a toy. After leaping onto the speeding vehicle, Atlas bounds from car to car, but it's bad news. Not only is the gang waiting up ahead, but here's Cazzoni in a plane with heavy caliber machine guns. The mobster unleashes a rain of lead. He might as well be throwing circus peanuts as Atlas tears the plane's wing clean off. It slams into the hillside, exploding in a ball of fire. Only it's not over yet, the gang coming down the hill with machine guns blazing. Using one of the armored cars as a battering ram, Atlas plows through the column of armed men, then starts taking them apart, one by one. Tommy can't believe it. Turns out Atlas had the mustard after all. But are he and the other kids going to jail? No, something far worse, I'm afraid. They're forced to play sports. But don't chalk this one up to Atlas. Anyone can attain this kind of strength through clean living, proper training, and those special exercises that leave you with curiously thick wrists. And don't miss the thrilling, actionful Atlas story next issue. When you're this tough, you can even make up your own words. Who's gonna stop you? Hope you left room for dessert, because this next one's a treat for the sweet tooth. Captain Marvel and the Good Humor Man is a promotional comic for the 1950 film The Good Humor Man. It's funny. As much as I like comics, I like to think young Mink would have preferred the free ice cream, but you do promotions your way and I'll do 'em mine. After announcing to the radio-going public that Columbia Pictures is filming a new movie called The Good Humor Man, starring Jack Carson, reporter Billy Batson gets word Captain Marvel's presence is requested on the set of the film. Uttering the magic word which transforms him into America's #1 hero, the good captain flies out to Hollywood. He's met by director Lloyd Bacon, who introduces him to the film's star, Jack Carson. Ooh, leave the jokes to Pigmeat Markham. Bacon brings Marvel onto the set, where they shoot the scene of Carson discovering his truck is missing. Turns out some thugs have stolen it for use in a bank robbery, which isn't far off. Have you seen what those ice cream guys charge for a dilly bar? At the end of the movie, the boys from the Captain Marvel Club help capture the crooks. When director Bacon asks the captain what he thinks, Narcissus Marvel insists upon a picture of Billy Batson for the club walls, flying off to get one. Spying an actual good humor truck, Marvel decides to sample the goods, but good-humored, this driver ain't. He gives the captain the brush off, but there's no time to dwell on it, as the nearby plant is being robbed. Captain Marvel flies into action, rushing the criminals, only he doesn't realize he's up against Mastermind Looter Luke. Needing to effect a getaway, Luke fires not at Marvel, but at an unarmed guard. Don't worry, he's alright. He was only shot in the head. When the captain turns back for the crooks, they're gone. But how? There's no getaway car to be seen, only the empty good humor truck slowly pulling away. Once it sinks in what's happened, Marvel gets the stick out and pursues the fleeing truck. They highball it onto the movie lot. Only Marvel's all crossed up. These aren't the robbers at all, but the actors in the Good Humor Man movie. What a boner. Meanwhile, Lefty and the gang hightail it out of there, but mistake the studio's fake ice cream truck for their own. They speed off, with Marvel watching slack-jawed. What a yokel. It's only once they reach their hideout does Lefty realize the foul-up. They then start kicking each other, which seems more than justified. Simultaneously, Director Bacon and his ganja shirt confer with Marvel. They encounter the real getaway truck full of real money, but think it's just a prop truck and wander off. There's important stuff to do, like hang that picture of Billy Batson in the clubhouse. Who cares if it pulls focus? The kid stays in the picture. In the next scene, Carson goes to tell his troubles to boy companion Johnny Baloo. "Nyat Pak Levram," says Carson, and the Cape child responds in kind. What, are these two speaking in tongues? No, that's just the name Captain Marvel backwards. You know, I'm starting to think an intervention is needed here. Bacon explains the premise to Marvel and presumably the thickos who didn't get it already. I see. This movie has quite a bit about me and the Captain Marvel Club. Sounds like litigation to me, Cap. You'd better get your lawyers on the phone. Before he can sue for copyright infringement, Lefty and the gang sneak in. In fact, they walk right past Marvel, who waves to them, mistaking them for actors. Can someone please call Batman? Hell, even Congo Bill would be more effective. Finally catching on, Marvel moves to collar the crooks, but Lefty blasts away at the heavy-gauge electrical cables, starting a massive fire. The rapidly spreading flames act as cover, allowing the gang to get away. Marvel, meanwhile, snatches the blazing curtain and carries it high into the air, where it burns away to harmless ash. The captain begins searching for Lefty and the boys, but doesn't have much luck until he hears Peter shouting, "Nyat Pak Levram." Look, I get what you're doing, but that's a lot to shout in an emergency. It's like 5 whole syllables. Simplify, kid. Desperate to escape, the gang sneak into the prop room, donning costumes to blend in with the rest of the actors. And it works. Does this guy have Alzheimer's or something? I mean, cop uniform or not, Lefty is pretty distinctive looking. Realizing there are no cowboys and Indians in the Good Humor Man movie, the captain moves on the bogus actors. He busts Lefty in the mush, but one of the other gang members has slipped away. Lighting a smudge pot as a distraction allows he and the others to escape, but they leave the truck behind. And look, real money. When Jack Carson gets wind of it, he nearly has a stroke. Why, there's almost enough here to pay alimony to his ex-wives. Simultaneously, Lefty and his gang slip into Peter's dressing room to fix him. They just tie him up and stuff him in a closet, which is actually getting off easy, all things considered. Stumbling across the truck, Lefty slips up behind Carson and pistol whips the unsuspecting actor. Carson, however, is unfazed. Maybe there's nothing in there to damage. The rest of the gang follows suit, hammering the actor's skull with the butts of their guns. Only surprise, it's the Big Red Cheese, and he's had about enough of these frozen novelty-based shenanigans. While beating the piss out of Lefty and his gang, the truck's brake slips, sending it hurtling towards a couple of dames. Big surprise, Lefty and the others escape again. Where are all the security guards in this place? The Bowery after midnight is safer. The captain learns Peter is missing, but instead of rushing off to find him, decides Billy Batson can take his place in the movie. I told you this guy was a narcissist. Transforming back into Billy, the boy reporter makes a fool of himself, running around shouting his name backwards. Shouldn't he have to go back to the 5th dimension now? Stepping off the set into the studio, Billy witnesses Lefty and the gang sneaking away. And hey, look, unlike the good captain, Billy's skull doesn't stand up to a pistol whipping, and Geez, I think he's dead. Wow, that went south fast. Lefty and the gang locate the real truck, but the surrounding guards make stealing it no easy feat. Then Lefty gets the bright idea of employing the studio's wind machine, and he knows just how to turn it on. Using the bound Billy as a weight, the machine's lever is tripped, creating a powerful gust that drives the guards from the studio. Even worse, Billy is about to swing back into the whirling blades, which will turn this comic into something far darker than the cover promised. Using his whole face, the boy reporter employs the razor-sharp blades to cut away his gag, a close call, to be sure. Captain Marvel once again, he flies off to locate Lefty, and here's the missing Peter tagging along on the back of the truck. Unwilling to let the gang escape, he slashes one of their tires, sending the vehicle skidding out of control. After it crashes, the crooks run in 3 different directions, putting Marvel in a bind. But not to worry, the Captain Marvel fan club is ready to lend a hand. Mounting their bikes, the Cape kids speed off, shouting "Niad Pack Leverim," which probably startles the heck out of anyone not in the know. They corner one of the crooks and, with a little teamwork, tackle him to the ground. Only this guy's got a gun, and he's not afraid to go all Charles Biro on these little punks. Luckily, Marvel flies in to dispense some fisty justice. The kids chase the other 2 robbers down in short order, ending, as all self-respecting chase scenes must, with a pie fight. Even actor Jack Carson gets a lemon meringue to the mush in this award-winning panel. Ready to wrap things up, Marvel gives Lefty a terrific right hook, sending the looter sprawling. The film is saved, the day is won, and Marvel's given a ticket to see the movie when it comes out. Wait, 1 lousy ticket? The guy's been here all day. In that time, Mr. Mind has enslaved half of humanity. But that's another and probably far more interesting episode. So there you have it. The music fades, the ride slows, and you depart, perhaps a little reluctantly, but with a smile on your face, knowing the Comics Carousel is here whenever you're ready to ride again. I'm Jason Mink, and I'll see you then.